Greetings, Tezos Nation. Welcome to another edition of TezTalks Live. I'm Stu from Tezos Commons. Joining me today is Paul Geist, aka PaulWhoIsAGhost, Tezos community member, Tezos art collector, and creator of the WTF Is This Gameshow and This Is a Raid community art initiative. Paul is joining us today to discuss his ongoing journey into the Tezos ecosystem and what he's doing to support the thriving art community within it in 2025. Hi, Paul. Where are you right now, and how's the weather?
I'm at home. A beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest.
It is indeed. I am also in the Pacific Northwest, and it's wonderful. To get the ball rolling, can you tell us a bit about your background and how you got your start in the exciting world of blockchain technology?
I'm a veteran from the U.S. Navy. When I got out, I was working some local jobs. I started buying stock, stock market, made some money off of Tesla, bought into Doge, made some money off of that too. So I started to move some of those gains into crypto. Through Doge was my initial attractor, of course. And then I started buying into more Ethereum and Binance, BNB type tokens, and came up with a system where I was like, I'd buy a certain amount and then I'd wait till it hit like 3 times and I'd sell a third of it. And then I'd wait till it hits, another mark, and then I'd sell more, another third, and keep recycling that funding into new tokens to invest in. And that's really where I got interested in blockchain technology to begin with. I was kind of a transition from the stock market.
What year was that?
2020, 2021 was first started to get into it. Maybe 2019, as far as Doge and all that, main level 1 tokens like Ethereum and Bitcoin and all that.
Okay. And how did you first come into contact with Tezos?
So when I was messing around on Binance and on Ethereum, I started buying into collectible tokens, and there was a few communities on Ethereum that I really loved. And through those communities, I met some people who were active on Tezos, mainly Jayburn. Jayburn had started buying, collecting, and minting on Tezos and was encouraging a group of us who knew each other through those communities to come over and check it out. He had heard about Project Neon was going to mint, and he thought it was going to be really big and a great opportunity for like a speculative, flip. So I went in for it and I minted, and it was my first experience with like minting on Tezos, and I was surprised at how fast it was. I didn't think I stood a chance because I was minting from my mobile phone at a gas station. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to get this. I'm going to get gassed out for sure. And I wasn't. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, it was so fast from my mobile. This is extremely accessible. And that was really like the first moment where I fell in love and came into contact with Tezos.
Okay. And aside from that initial experience and the speed and the ease of use that surrounded that experience, what was it about this ecosystem in particular that appealed to you and made you decide to become more deeply involved?
I had been really approaching crypto from a speculative mindset, and like, what can I buy and what can I sell, and how can I make money off of this so I can collect more. And then, I was kind of cutting my losses on some things and buying into other things to keep that ball rolling. And when I came to Tezos, there was an extensive community of people doing the same thing, and they were all on Discord in these various servers. So I'd start seeing the same names in different servers. And quickly like recognized that there's this active community there that's not all hidden in the shadows like it is on Ethereum. Like you don't have as much interactivity with the other people who are involved. And the big seller for me, I think, was with that Project Neon token. I sold that original mint for like 700 Tezos. It was an unbelievable amount compared to, the 15 Tezos mint. And this is when Tezos was up around $7, I think. So it was pretty high, and I made a lot of money off of that. And then immediately I was like, I regret selling that. I should have kept that thing. I should have kept that token. So I bought back into it almost immediately, and the response from the community on not only the speculative gain that I made, but then also buying back in was what sealed the deal. Was like the creator was welcomed that activity and applauded me for it, and was, appreciative of the fact that I bought back in, because I really did believe in what he was making and I wanted to be part of it. And I did not get that response, anywhere near that response, from creators on Ethereum and the community leaders there. So I was like, there's something different going on here, and this is something I want to be part of. And from there, I just started finding other projects that were minting or getting ready to mint, and were, trying to beef up their Discord servers. And I joined those and try to get to know the creators and what their plans were. And I just fell in love with the community as a whole.
Okay, and having fallen in love with the community, you've now spent several years actively participating in the Tezos ecosystem at this point. Can you tell us a bit about your journey down the Tezos rabbit hole and what it's been like for you?
Yeah. So like I said, I started off mainly from a collector's perspective. And I feel like that's really my main expected role within the ecosystem. I'm somebody who earns money from their job and then brings that money into the ecosystem, looking to spend it on things creators are creating and minting. And so collector has always been like my primary hat, but um, that doesn't really work out so well when you run out of money. So for a while there, I tried, I tried making some side Tezos off of creating my own art and minting it and selling it. And I quickly found that I don't like being a salesman as much as I like being a supporter. And my art is limited in audience to people that I see as peers in the creation world. Some of those peers are very kind to consider me a peer because they blow my mind with what they create, and they're really open with their inspiration toward, like getting others inspired and finding ways to promote other people creating in their genre, I would say. So the creation journey, part of my journey, is mostly as a hobby. I like to create. I like exploring different art forms and techniques for creating artwork. I'm especially interested in the glitch realm of art, and finding ways to manipulate images and sounds in ways that weren't intended or expected to trigger emotional response, especially. But I found that I wasn't super successful, even with the sort of reach that I had gained as a collector over the first year and a half, 2 years that I was on Tezos. I didn't have a lot of reach as a creator. Like, people saw me as a collector, and collecting my work maybe would encourage me to buy their work in response. And that was kind of a lot of the gameplay that happened there. And otherwise, the genuine connections that I got were really with other artists who were exploring and liked my sense of exploration. And that was enough for me. But it was clear that that wasn't a hat that I should wear as my primary hat. And I wanted to find something more than just collector to do. And so I started finding ways to be in a support role. I started writing more articles about artists and about initiatives. And I started focusing more on being an influencer, if you will. I don't like that term, but that's what it is, what it is, right? And so I really found my stride in that aspect of getting people not to look at me, but to listen to me when I'm shouting about other people.
Mm.
And then they look at them and they like what I'm pointing at. And so they want to listen to me more. And that's really where I thrive. And so I've taken that on as more of my primary role and tried to um, play that role more within Tezos. When I buy something, I try to find ways that that buy can be extended beyond my personal collection to drive community or drive interest in the artist. I rarely just buy something because I like it anymore, because I don't have that kind of Tezos.
Okay. And to that end, you've been a driving force in several interesting Tezos community initiatives during your time here. The WTF game show, which I mentioned, and This Is a Raid being two that I definitely like to talk about today. But first, can you talk about what motivates you to make community initiatives like those happen?
It's the culture that was built before I got here is the main motivator. I came with really the birth of object is the era, how I like to define the era. Hen is really collapsed and Teo was forming, and object really took off from there and added collections, and that really drove a lot of interest in using that as the main platform, in my opinion. And I want to encourage the culture that we had um, pre-object, because I feel like we're losing a lot of that, and adopting a lot of the culture that's present on other blockchains that sort of promotes sales over interaction, with genuine interactions between artists and their audience. And the culture on Tezos has always been focused on artists reaching other artists and artists as an audience. And then how do we grow that beyond artist to artist to uh, involving the general public in welcoming them into this culture that we've created. So everything that I do, all of these community initiatives are driven by wanting other people to have the same passion that I have for Tezos and for that interaction between each other. So This Is a Raid, WTF Game Show, um, Losing Bid. I've got all sorts of different fingers in different pots. The Axe Commissioning Arts Commission, I'm part of that as well. All of it is driven at informing people on social media and who want to be present on Tezos, informing them who else is also active on Tezos, getting them in the same room together, getting them to interact and talk to each other, even if it doesn't result in a sale. Because the best interactions on Tezos aren't tied to sales. They're tied to us breaking down these roles of collector and creator and just seeing each other as people who are on a similar journey. And so that's what I really want. That's what motivates me to make these initiatives, is helping others recognize that there's more here. This isn't a game where you're involved with NPCs and you're playing against the game. We're all playing the same game together, and it's, we need to interact to make it successful.
Okay. And speaking of all playing the same game together, let's talk about the WTF Is This Game Show.
All
How
right.
would you describe the WTF Is This Game Show to somebody who has no idea that it exists?
Um, Well, the way that I would like it to be seen is as being rewarded for doing Tezos, but it's actually a lot of chaos. And there's there's a lot of different personalities that are put into one chat room together, and they're given challenges to complete, and that results in very interesting dynamics between people. So the game show in a nutshell is I took 50 or more Tezos enthusiasts and put them in one chat room, and I give them challenges to complete, and if they complete them, they get to stay, and if they stay, they get rewarded with prizes. The longer they stay, the more prizes they earn.
Okay. And what kind of challenges do they need to complete?
So the challenges are often things that are inherent to Tezos community. So they might earn a token for making nominations for Tezos CRP, for example. And so I don't control who they nominate, but they are rewarded for making nominations.
Okay.
And then those tokens that they earn could be traded during auctions that we hold within the chat room for art. And so I'm buying art from Tezos artists, and then I'm auctioning it for this token that doesn't have any value outside of the game show in exchange for them doing Tezos. So the more of that token, the WTF token that they earn by doing different tasks around Tezos, the more bandwidth they have to win auctions for the prizes that I'm offering. That's one example of challenges. The most recent challenge they had was a letter game. They had a 5 different letter tokens that I minted. And by letter token, I mean it just had like a bunch of A's on it, or a bunch of B's, a bunch of C's, and there was A through E. And they were each assigned a different condition they had to fulfill. They had to buy a certain token, sell, or not sell, but trade, send off a certain token, receive a certain token from a different player. And then at the end, they had to hold 2 of these letter tokens. And so it created this situation where they have to interact with each other in order to make the swaps that were necessary to complete their win conditions. And the players who completed them survived, and those who didn't did not. So they were eliminated from the round and are removed from the game now.
Okay. And for those who do survive, what kind of prizes are on offer?
So every round we have a token that was made exclusively for the game show by Tezos artists. For round 0, for example, there were 50 survival tokens made by Normal is Toxic. Erica made these wonderful pictures. They're images that are like layovers of different photos she took of herself in different positions. So it's her standing victory over fallen hers, basically. And the art token itself was minted into 50 editions because that round was intended to have 50 survivors. So everybody who survived got 1 edition of that. They have to hold those tokens for the next round, or they're not eligible for survival. And if they collect multiple, then they are immune from elimination. So it incentivizes them to kind of buy them from each other. And if they are choosing to leave, it provides them with sort of a cash prize to walk away with, right? Like, okay, well, at least I can sell the survival token to somebody else who really wants to stay in for another round. And so that kind of drives a lot of participation. And you'll see these tokens, they have this inherent utility. And so you'll see them go for lots of money. I think last round, the high offer was like 200 Tezos.
Really?
So this round was a survival token made by Empress Trash. So we have lots of Tezos artists with some level of prestige, some of my favorite contributors to our community that have willingly donated these survivor tokens for the contestants to compete for, which is amazing. But then the letter tokens that I mentioned, Elf Ears Fox Socks made a corresponding token for every letter, so that at the end of the round they could trade those game tokens back in for actual Tezos art. And so there's like lots of different ways that they're being rewarded for participating in the game show, and it's almost always art by a Tezos creator, or Tezos, ecstasy itself, or WTF token is the three main prizes that we're focused on.
So almost like a miniature economy within the game show.
Yeah, the WTF token is sort of a test pilot that I'm doing for non-valuable tokens, like tokens that are made for use without the intention of providing actual value to them within the ecosystem, and seeing how durable it'll be against potential efforts for abuse if I just controlled supply properly.
Okay. And yet, theoretically, they have no value, and yet you've had a sale of one for 200 Tez.
Well, that's different. That's the survivor tokens, and those, those are open to anybody. If somebody happens to get their hands on one of those, they would basically become part of the game show. They would become a contestant in that next round. So, and that's actually been explained to all the contestants as well, that if they're not able to participate, but they would like to swap out with a friend, that's the way to do it, is send them your survival token and add them to the room, and you'll be removed from the game, but they'll take your spot.
That's all very interesting. How many episodes of the WTF Is This Game Show have you done so far?
So episodes is an interesting way. I haven't ever thought of it like that. This is the second season, and we're on for the first season had 10 rounds. Second season started with the round 0, so we're on the third round. So 13. This would be the 13th episode, if you want to put it that way.
Round probably works better. You would know better than I would.
Well, the problem is that I often have to post multiple times during a round in order to get the information out there. And so if you view each of the posts as an episode, then that kind of loses continuity. But yeah, episode is a nice way to put it if it's a game show, right? Like the rounds they're participating in may go on for a month, but it's all the same event, basically.
Yeah. So you're on the third season of this.
Second season.
Second season.
Third round, technically, of the second
season. Third round of the second season. What has the response been like from the community? Like, what kinds of people are getting involved?
So it's an elimination style game. So the survivors from each round move on to the next round. We started with 69 contestants. And then a good chunk of those were coerced into being there and didn't actually have the bandwidth to participate. So they were quickly eliminated down to 50 as part of round 0. But then, the contestant pool is pretty much locked in from there. So the people getting involved at this stage are more Tezos creators who want to contribute their art as a prize. They want to find ways to participate in the culture and, associate with the game show, help give contestants something motivating them to participate more as by way of contributing a reward. I've been reached out to by communities. This is a good way that I'm looking to adapt the game show for more involvement, is a lot of communities like TTC. TTC is coming up on its birthday, and they have asked me if there's some way that I can integrate celebrating TTC's birthday into the game show for the contestants to incentivize them. The Taya raid was postponed, and that's another thing that we had incentivized and will continue to incentivize contestants to be a part of. Things like that, where there's community events going on. I've been getting a lot of outreach for, hey, how can the game show be part of this? How can we tie in together?
Okay.
And so that's really been interesting for me, and a focus on my thoughts forming the rest of season 2, because I have a framework, but it's not finalized in a way that I can't adapt it.
Yeah.
Which is what I like to do, because then I can easily roll something out, but I'm not limited if something comes up that I need to adopt.
Okay. And if somebody was just hearing about this for the first time and they were interested in getting involved or checking out the WTF Is This game show, where's the best place for them to start?
Probably just on Twitter, finding the main game show account, which should just be at WTF_game show. You should be able to find it pretty easily. Look for the posts under the highlights and currently pinned posts. That'll clue you into what we're going on right now and where we've been so far this season. Last season, I ran everything off of my main account, the PaulWhoIsAGhost account. So you'd have to search that account for WTF Game Show, and then that would give you a lot of info. I'm in the process of having a website made by Skull's Army, who's my co-host on the game show. And the website should offer a lot more interactivity with the game itself and the games that we're playing, how the rounds are being managed, and that. So it should give the general public a better view of where the game stands at any point in time, sort of like a leaderboard for them to follow along with. But there isn't right now a very good public facing. It's more, the game has always been made for the contestants in the room and sort of a closed experience. And I'm trying to find ways to open it up to the public. So there will be a website, but it's slow to come because I want it to integrate all of those different elements of the game show as well.
Okay. And you mentioned the Taya raid a moment ago, which segues nicely into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is This Is a Raid, which I understand is a community initiative to support underserved artists in the Tezos art community through spotlighting their work and encouraging collectors to buy it. Can you tell us a bit about the motivation behind This Is a Raid and what you hope to accomplish with it?
So my vision for it has changed slightly. So we'll get to what I hope to accomplish for it now in a minute. But where it started from, I was started raiding in, I think it was the fall of 2023, maybe that winter rolling into 2024. And I was just sort of frustrated with the bear market, and it was actually causing a lot of artists to consider listing their art for lower prices, even though the price of Tezos had dropped, just to attract sales of any kind, because nobody's art was selling. And I felt guilty. I felt really, really guilty because I was scooping up a lot of work that should have been sold for a lot more than it was, and really beefing up my collection from it. And I was just thinking to myself, how can I make this less beneficial for me and unbalanced for the creators who are suffering right now? And I thought, if I just focus my collection efforts on one artist at a time, I can really make an impact and highlight them. Like, why is this guy buying so much from one person when nobody's buying anything from anybody? Maybe that's enough to start grabbing someone's attention. So that's what I started doing. I would find my favorite artists, or I would discover a new artist, and I would just love their work enough that I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy a bunch of this right now. And I would just start collecting, and I would share every single piece. I would download the art. I would post about it. I would sometimes write a little brief critique about the work and why I liked it, why I bought it, why I found the artist. I would find different ways to highlight them, and I would say, this is a raid, and I would just share everything. Just throw it out there. Like, this is a raid. I'm raiding this person. And then I started saying, this is a raid. Join me.
Yeah.
And people started doing it too, because they wanted to be part of that. They wanted to be part of that organic support of that artist, because that's one thing that Tezos has always been rich in, and that's the support of peers amongst peers. You can always find someone on Tezos who loves the same person that you love and their creations, and is wanting to go at it with you. Like, okay, yeah, let's go. Let's buy what we can buy. Not because we think that we're going to be able to flip those pieces around and make money instantly. That's not the interest. The interest is in showing that Tezos artist that they are valued, that we like their work, that they're seen and heard. And that, more than any of the sales that we've made, has been the impact on artists, I think, is that the community sees them and values them, and it's a reason for them to keep minting when nobody's buying.
Okay. And how do you choose the artists that you raid?
So when I started, it was all personal preference, and then more people started joining me, and they wanted it to become a group thing, and I was like, well, I don't want to be the person who's always deciding who we're rating. I don't want that kind of control over the group itself, and I don't want that sort of responsibility of ensuring that I'm always making the best decision, and I'm not showing favoritism or something, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be driven to buy what I like, and usually it's going to be from artists that I'm already supporting, because that's what I'm seeing within my echo chamber.
Yeah.
So when I made this a group, I wanted it to be sort of impervious to that. And I wanted it to be to where any member can lead a raid or can nominate an artist for a raid. So we structured it in a very democratic way. And we have a Google Sheet where there's nominations made. And then we have 61 members, I think, on that sheet, who all have a column where they place their votes for the nominees. And the nominee who gets the most votes when we come time to raid, that's the selected artist. Okay. Any member can make the nomination, so it's literally dependent on those 60 members to go out and find artists that they think would make a good raid, and then nominate them.
Very cool. So do you let them know that they're being raided, or do they just suddenly start selling a bunch of work without knowing why?
Yeah, that's usually the case. Is we do not tell them at all. And that started off because I was worried about, I didn't want creators being like, oh, I'm going to be rated, I should go relist everything.
Yeah, raise the prices.
Raise my prices so I can make more off of this. And that's kind of a selfish reason to have that rule in place. But what we found was, when we don't tell them, and when there's just suddenly this outpouring of support, it's a shock, and it really hits them a lot harder, and the message is received a lot stronger than it's like, hey, we're going to do this thing, and it's totally organized and scheduled, and it's not organic at all. We've manufactured this. But the more unscheduled it is, the more it's about who has capacity to participate, who has interest, and whether or not they're willing to make that capacity if they don't have it, because the raid's going to happen with or without them. So oftentimes you'll see members go, oh man, why did you guys have to do this one today? And then scramble to put together some way to participate, even if it's just writing a critique or sharing some art they've collected in the past from the artist and why they like that artist.
Okay. Well, I mean, on a certain level, it is still organic, because they've just made the work. Your group has seen it and liked it and decided to support them, right? It's not entirely manufactured, is what I'm saying.
It's not entirely manufactured, no, but I feel the more that we schedule it, and the more that we start looking at who's going to be part of this, and planning it out and all of that, the more or the less organic it becomes.
Yeah, that's fair.
The further from the origin it goes, where I was just somebody like screw it, let's buy what I can afford to buy from this artist, and see if we can get other people to recognize their value.
Okay. And if it's a very cool idea. If somebody's interested in getting involved with This Is a Raid, how would they do that?
You could start by going to thisisaraid.xyz.
Okay.
That's our official website. It's got tons of information on there, including previously rated artists. There's a gallery that you can do. That gallery is built by Skull's Army. It's amazing. It's just a beautiful spotlight tool on the previous artists we've rated and what work they have listed now, and that's available for you to collect.
Very cool.
There's a link to our sheet there, so you could go and you can see the sheet and see how we run everything. There's a link to our Discord. You could ask for an invite to the group chat and become a member, and that would entitle you to voting and nomination privileges. Like I said, we have 60 members right now. We're always looking to grow, and we're currently undergoing some restructuring to ensure that we can grow larger than we are right now.
Very cool. This is all great stuff so far, and I'm excited to learn more. But before we get into the nitty gritty, are you ready for the world famous TezTalks lightning round?
The lightning round, yes.
All right, then it is lightning round time. Remember, there are no wrong answers. This is just for fun, so our viewers can get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready?
Oh, let me get adjusted here. Okay, I'm ready.
Are you a night owl or an early riser?
Night owl.
Exercise or naps?
Neither. Both.
Okay. Movies or video games?
TV series.
Ooh. Going off script. What is your favorite country to visit for a vacation?
Japan.
Okay.
Usually we stay domestic, though.
Okay. I like the Japan part better. If you were elected king of the world, what's the first thing you would do?
Resign.
Name one thing you will never do again.
Be king of the world.
Now that you've just resigned, you never want to do it again. Okay. What's the secret to happiness?
Never be king of the world.
Okay. Do you have any pets?
No. My wife and my children have pets, but I travel too much to have one that claims me.
Okay. So they're just sort of there.
They're, like my wife's dog or my daughter's cat.
Okay. Finally, what's your favorite thing to do on a rainy day?
Play with analog video toys like that I build or that I've purchased from different online websites.
Sounds fun. Excellent answers. This concludes the TezTalks lightning round. Let's get back.
That was easy.
What
did I win?
You did a great job. You win my eternal respect.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Is that tokenized?
It should be. Now that we sort of talked about your background and your journey down the Tezos rabbit hole, I'd like to just sort of zoom out for a minute and talk about the state of blockchain-based and NFT art more broadly. Like, obviously, the space has seen significant changes since it sort of exploded onto the global scene a few years ago. What's the state of the blockchain art scene in 2025 as you see it?
The state of the blockchain art scene. I think that there is a balancing act going on, a rebalancing sort of. Speculation really drove prices of both currencies on crypto and products on crypto to unsustainable levels, like prices that weren't ever really realistic. And what that ends up with when you push economies to the extreme like that is you end up with somebody who owns something at a price that they're never going to be able to make a profit off of. And that person becomes a disgruntled bag holder and eventually disappears. And so I think where we're at right now is we have a lot of people who hold a lot of assets that we're never going to see in circulation again because they're gone and they're not going to come back. Moving forward, what does that mean? It means that there's now some natural rarity to those products, but what do we do with our strategies moving forward to adapt to that? Because there's less consumers in the market right now than there were during the bull, and there's good reason to believe that there will be more consumers coming back to the market because mass adoption comes in waves and it's not going to stop happening. Bitcoin is not going to stop attracting people to crypto in general. And as they do, if they're interested in art, Tezos will continue to have the dominance on sort of the art culture, in my opinion, amongst the blockchains. So where are we right now? We're sort of in the churn as far as being between eras of blockchain growth. I would see it. We're in that period where there's underground building going on that's going to cause the next bull market to erupt and the next wave of mass adoption to kick off. And that's really exciting for me. And I like to be part of seeing those things happen and encouraging them to grow in a way that's going to be healthy for Tezos overall and not chase after that speculation view set or mindset and viewpoint. I think patronage is needed. That's going to be a huge thing. Focus this year and next year, I feel, is finding, recognizing, and finding ways to incentivize patrons as opposed to collectors. Seeing people change from being here in order to make a quick profit to being here in order to promote artists that they have invested in as a way of furthering those early investments and enforcing the bonds that they've formed if they've done it on Tezos, because there's no way you've made any significant investments on Tezos and not formed bonds. It's really unlike any other blockchain, in my opinion, in that aspect.
So, after generating all of that initial excitement and perception kind of cooling off and that whole thing dying down and us being left with some disgruntled bag holders, as you put it, there remain people like you. You talked about the next bull run. You talked about mass adoption as it pertains to this like artistic medium. At this stage of the game, what's the value proposition that you see in this space? Like what is the value proposition that makes you think another bull run and mass adoption are still coming?
Well, that's mass adoption and another bull run coming. That's my belief in just how the technology works and where the world is heading in general. Everything is becoming digitized, and the adoption of cryptocurrency is growing worldwide. It's not, there are certain countries that are fighting back against it and others that are trying to regulate and tax it. But overall, it's growth and adoption around the globe, more and more countries making it more and more accessible. And so what we're seeing is some people leaving because they feel like it's a scam and they weren't here with the right purpose. They were here trying to make a quick dime or get rich quick, and it didn't work out for them because of the games that they were playing. And there were others on the blockchains who knew that they were playing that game and how to take advantage of it, because this isn't their first bull run. It was just the buyer's first bull run.
Yeah.
And so when I talk about disgruntled bag holders, I'm mainly talking about a lot of these collections that, they drop and they mint out, and then the collectors are gone, or the creators just, that's it. It was just for this. We were just dropping art. And then the buyers thought, oh, I thought this was a whole project and now there's nothing else to it. I'm just holding a token that has art associated to it. And I feel like that is an element of our marketplace that is very hard to put your finger on, how to define it. The fact that we have tokenized art culture in order to sell lottery tickets, essentially, because of the way that the tokenized market works.
Yeah.
That was the incentive of a lot of sellers on other chains, and not necessarily on Tezos. I didn't see as much of that. Tezos has always proclaimed art first, and zero utility projects are welcome. But if you're going to have utility, you better follow through on your roadmap, sort of thing. And so that has discouraged a lot of that speculative mindset that caused a lot of discouraged bag holders to exist.
Okay.
I feel like there's a generally much happier sentiment on Tezos amongst the collectors who've been here and remain here. And the ones who have chosen to leave, again, they were here because there was a way to make money here. And when that dried up, they were always going to leave to stay in an environment where they can make money.
Yeah.
So I think moving forward, we need to adopt more ways that average users can invest in the chain without looking at it from a speculative perspective of what do I get back out of it. We need more consumer-driven purchases, so to speak, as opposed to investment-based purchases. Buying art for the sake of, I like that art and I want to own it. Finding ways to tie that into their physical lives through offering like dropship partnerships, so that if you buy this limited release by a certain artist of 15 editions, they come with a dropship copy, so you get like a poster print sent to your house of that art. Things like that would greatly increase adoption of Tezos over other chains and focus on our what we're already known for, which is art dominance.
Okay. And as somebody who remains really positive about what this technology has to offer in that context, what does the future look like for blockchain powered art and the artists producing work in this space from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, you really have to separate and recognize that there are two different, basically two groups of people creating on blockchain right now and minting on blockchain. You have people who are minting on blockchain so that they can mint on blockchain and make sales on blockchain. And then you have people who are creating and then choosing to put their creations as a mint on blockchain as a means of exposing their work to the world. And I really think that we've kind of lost sight of that. That's two different types of people. Within our general community, we just talk about minting and everybody's an artist and everybody's a creator, but that's not true. I don't consider myself an artist. So, it feels disgenuine to talk to me about minting on Tezos or any blockchain as you would an artist, and then try to incentivize me with the same things that you incentivize them to mint for. And I feel like eventually the market is going to reach a place where we start recognizing that there is a difference between selling a JPEG and selling your art. And we need to establish different marketplace environments for each of them, because both are valid, and artists can create JPEGs for sale just as easily as they can create art for sale. And that's not to say that the JPEGs aren't art. I'm saying that if you classify them together, then there is no way to differentiate fine art from everyday products that are being created for sale so that you can survive.
Yeah.
There's no way to separate your masterpiece from a sticker you created for people to slap on their skateboard. And so when you look at that from a consumer's perspective, if there's no difference between the two, why would I ever pay 1,000 Tezos for one art product and one Tezos for the other?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. You have to give them the context in real life application and create a separate market for each, or they're going to continue to be lumped together, and we're going to continue to have problems with the price of meaningful art being devalued.
Okay. And as we navigate all of these things, what's your message to the people continuing to make the Tezos art ecosystem thrive in 2025?
I think the best message that I could send to them is to create for the audience that hasn't found you yet, because they are coming. If you focus on the audience who already loves you and you're just catering to them, you're not going to grow. You should be catering to yourself and your own journey artistically, and creating and for the audience that isn't there yet, because they will come, especially if you have work. One of the things I hate the most is people burning their work because there's nobody buying. Well, if there's nobody buying right now, that doesn't mean that there won't be somebody buying next week or the week after. Having availability of primary work isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you haven't been found.
I like it. What's next for Paul Geist? Any other exciting projects or announcements in the works?
Yeah, I've always got something in the works. So I'm really focused on keeping the game show running on track this season, trying to make it not last an entire year. Because that was one of the main ribbings I got, was that nobody wants to commit to a year-long process for a game show. This Is a Raid is undergoing restructuring. I also run Losing Bid, which is a project similar to Axe commissioning, where I identify who I feel is an emerging Tezos artist that is not getting the spotlight they deserve right now. And I offer them commission for work. And then my challenge is to find the community somebody to outbid me. I'm also working with Skull's Army on a little side project we call FAFO. And that's kind of like just a two-part builder organization. It's just a duo, him and I have ideas and he builds them, and we try to find ways to create tools for Tezos users. We created Robject and Reject, if you haven't heard of those. You should search for those on Twitter and find out about them, because they are amazing tools that Skulls has built that I feel will change your viewpoint of collecting on Tezos. And what else? Oh, I've got the Museum of Unwanted NFTs. That'll be a fun one. I can't wait to kick that one off. We started collecting donations, but the theory there is to find NFTs that people don't really want and they're willing to send me from their wallet, and then I find out if it's really unwanted or if they just didn't end up in the right wallet to begin with.
Very cool.
And then if it does pass all my tests and it's truly unwanted, then the museum wants it and we're going to keep it and display it. Nobody wanted this.
I really like it. We could go on all day, but unfortunately we've already gone over. We're definitely out of time here.
Okay.
To all of our viewers, thanks for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our social media contacts can be found at tezoscommons.org/TezTalks. We'd love to hear from you. Paul, thanks so much for joining us today. It's always awesome to speak to the folks helping the Tezos art community and ecosystem thrive. Is there anything else you absolutely wanted to mention before we sign off here?
No, not really. This Is a Raid is an open group, and we encourage everybody in the Tezos community with a passion for art to join us.
Perfect. To everyone out there in Tezos land, thanks for joining us on TezTalks Live. I'm Stu from the Tezos Commons, and our awesome guest has been Paul Geist, aka Paul Who Is a Ghost. Now let's go check out the WTF Is This Game Show.